אז בואו, אני רואה שאנחנו בשידור, ואני רואה שאנשים, כן, עכשיו אני רואה שאנשים עוד מצטרפים אלינו. אוקיי, אז בואו נתחיל. אז שמי שלומי, אני בא מחברת יוניק, חברה שבעצם מתעסקת בפאוור בי-איי, אם זה בנייה של מערכות לחברות ועסקים, ואם זה הדרכה ולימוד בקורסים שאני מעביר כקורסים פנים-ארגוניים, וגם לאחרונה גם עשיתי קורסים מקוונים מפאת המצב, שלא כל כך יכולנו לעשות הדרכות פרונטליות. ובמהלך החודש הזה בעצם התחלתי לעשות וובינרים עם כל מיני גורואים עולמיים, מה שנקרא MVP, מאסטרים בתחום של אקסל ובתחום של פאוור בי-איי, שני תחומים שאני מחובר אליהם מעל 25 שנה, ואני שמחתי מאוד שיצרתי קשר עם הבחור שתכף אני אעביר אליו את המיקרופון, בחור שנקרא, השם שלו הוא לא צ'נדו, אבל הוא נקרא, השם רשת שלו, או ככה הוא מוכר בעולם בעצם, בשם צ'נדו, הוא מגיע מניו זילנד, וצ'נדו הוא בעצם גורו עולמי בתחום של אקסל ופאוור בי-איי. אוקיי, אז התחלתי להגיד, צ'נדו, בחור MVP של מייקרוסופט, מאסטר עולמי באקסל ובפאוור בי-איי. שמתי לכם פה, תכף אני אעביר לכם את זה, שמתי לכם פה בחלון הצ'אט את האתר שלו, האתר שלו, שנייה אחת, אוקיי, זה האתר שלו בעצם, אתר מלא כל טוב, אתם רואים שיש לכם פה בעצם את כל הנושאים שהוא מתעסק איתם, בעבר זה היה רק אקסל, היום זה גם פאוור בי-איי, בחור באמת יצירתי ומוכשר, שכדאי מאוד להסתכל ולהתחבר לקורסים שלו, יש פה חוץ מקורסים שהם מן הסתם עולים כסף, אבל יש לכם פה המון ידע, פשוט ידע בחינם שהבחור הזה משתף, לא סתם הוא נבחר כ-MVP, MVP זה בעצם אנשים שמשתפים ידע בצורה חופשית, ואני כבר אעביר אליו את המיקרופון, כדי שהוא יוכל להדגים לכם את מה שהוא תכנן להיום. Before handing over the microphone to Mr. Chandoo, I want to thank him to agreeing my request to join the webinar. Hi Chandoo, how are you?
Hey Shlomi, I'm really good. Thank you so much for getting me to do this, and it's a real pleasure and honor to speak to you and your audience.
Great to have you. Sorry. I would like to. I'll be happy if you would like if you will tell us the topic you will demonstrate us today.
Yeah. So this is going to be a Power BI webinar where I'm going to share 10 of my favorite visualization tricks or customizations that you can do with Power BI. If you have never used Power BI, you might find this particular lesson a little too much. But if you have already been using it for a while and you're just looking for new ways or new ideas to spice up your reports and data viz, then this is something that you will definitely enjoy.
Great. So the mic is you are the owner.
All right. Yeah. So I will just start by sharing my work screen, and from time to time I'll stop for questions, but feel free to just pause me at any point if things are going too fast or anything. At the end of the presentation, I will email you a copy of the Power BI file so that anybody who wants to just look them closer, they can download and just see the file as well as all the things that are done there.
We'll put a link in the description below on the YouTube.
Yeah, so that's there, and let's start by a screen share on Power BI desktop. So this is the file that I'm using, and you will get a copy of that. As you could see, if you are not able to read the contents of the screen very clearly, you can also visit https://chandoo.org WP webinar Viz 10. That page will take you to an online version of the same report, but it's not exactly same because there is a lot of things that I will enable and disable during the presentation. So you are better off watching the screen and then downloading the file rather than viewing a web version of the Power BI workbook. So hello everyone, my name is Chandoo. As Shlomi mentioned, I live in Wellington, New Zealand, and I have been running a website called Chandoo.org primarily to teach people how to use Excel and Power BI for last 10 plus years now. I am really honored to present this visualization 10 topic where I will be sharing 10 powerful tips for enhancing Power BI visualizations. You can learn more about my site from the links that Shlomi has shown on the screen earlier. So let's get into the interesting stuff here. Each tip is put in one separate page of Power BI. We'll get into that, but before we actually see the tips, I'll just briefly explain about the data model that we have. It is a very simple data set with just 3 tables. We have some data about a telecom company. So their data about how many customers they had, how much revenue they made, and how many people have left the organization in terms of customers. With telecom companies like cell phone plans, every week you are getting new clients, as well as some people may choose to end the contract with you. So all of that information, and they operate in 3 different regions, US, Australia, and Germany. So the regional data is here, and they offer 6 types of products. So the product information is here. So it's a very simple data set. I'll show you how the data looks, but it's not necessary to really understand. But they have about 74 stores, and for each week in that store, for each product of the 6 products, how many customers they have, what is the total new customers that week, how many exits they had, and some other information. And I've created some really simple measures like sum of revenue, sum of profit, sum of expenditure, etc., so that we can build visualizations from that. So let's get in here. The number 1 is conditional formatting based on target. So let's say you have, I will maybe kind of resize my screen so it's more so let's say you have total revenue by individual product, and you have a revenue target of I don't know, maybe $40 million. So anything that is more than 40 million, I would like to highlight in a different color so that it's easy to spot that. And this kind of thing, like if I create a regular bar chart or a column chart with revenue, so we will usually put something like product name on axis and the total revenue on the column, and you would get everything in the same color. There is no differentiation between what items have met the revenue target and what have not met the revenue target. So to kind of make it easy to spot which items have reached the target, you can apply conditional formatting. So that's what that is. To do this, all you have to do is select the chart, go to data colors, and right next to the color there would be an FX button. In earlier versions of Power BI there is just 3 dots which will trigger the conditional formatting, but they made it more discoverable in the version that was released a couple of days ago. So if you click on the FX, it will give you a color scale type of a rule. We don't need color scale, so we will use rules based on total revenue. So you need to specify which measure the rule should apply, and if it is greater than 40 million, that's our target. So we just have to type that 40 million. So 40 and then 3 zeros and 3 more zeros as a number. And if it is less than, and if we just delete that, it will be maximum. So anything that is more than 40 million will take red color. We don't need to specify what color needs to happen for the other one. But if you want, you can also add a new rule that is saying greater than number and less than 40 million and leave it like that, and that will give you that kind of a conditional formatting. So here in the conditional formatting rule, what we did is we used a static number. Oops, I cleared the conditional formatting there. We used a static number to specify the rule. You can also go one step extra and use a little more dynamic versions that requires applying a rule based on field value, so that that field value will be used, or you could create another intermediate measure and then use that to run these checks. So that's my number one trick. I'll delete this one. We will use that. The second one is smart titles. So when you create a normal chart, let's just use the same example again. If I put a name and total revenue, we'll get a title like total revenue by name. But look at this title here. This one has total revenue 272 million. Broadband has 24% of it. Now that is a very, very powerful title. It tells the story. It sets the tone for the information, and offers more than a simple title like this. To get a title like that, what you need to do is you need to start by creating a title as a measure. So I've created revenue title measure here. This is the measure. We will, let's see if I can, yeah, it works. So we need to actually write all the necessary calculations. So we will calculate total revenue for broadband as a product, total revenue for all products, and store them in two different variables, and then divide that to calculate the percentage. And then we use some if formula to generate the whole message. So if there is blank, then we will simply say revenue by product. This because there can be a lot of cross filtering happening, and that can create situations where one of these or the percentage might end up being blank. So we want to handle that, and otherwise we will create a message that reads something like this. So we will get that into a measure called revenue title, and once that is there, we select the chart for which we want to have that dynamic title. We go to the chart title option. Again, the title is static, but you can apply conditional formatting. It sounds silly, like what is conditional formatting on a title, because I think they've chosen the idea of conditional formatting from Excel and put it in Power BI, but this does so much more than Excel conditional formatting. So what we could do is we can format by field value. What this really means is whatever field value you put here, that would be the chart title, and the field value will be revenue title measure that you just created, and this will show that title. The best part of this is this is not a static title, it is more dynamic. So if you have a filter on something else like country, and you pick USA or something, these titles will change to respond what is happening within USA as well. So it's saying, for example, in Germany, you have $59 million revenue and broadband still has 24% of it. So that's how the second one works. The third one is again very interesting. Not many people realize this, but you can use emojis with Power BI. Just as you're using formulas in your measures, you can also, in the formula, you could write a text value. Where that text is, you can put an emoji symbol like, tick marks or smiley symbols or anything for that matter, and create a nice little visualization like this. This is showing by each country and product what is the revenue, expenditure, profit, and whether we have reached the target in terms of profit. So let's say the profit target is 65%. So anything that is more than 65% would have a green tick mark, and less than 65 would have a red cross mark. Again, creating this is fairly trivial, but I will show you the logic, which is we will calculate profit percentage, which would be total profit divided by total revenue, and then we will have a profit target indicator, which will be if profit percentage greater than 0.65, then within double quotes that symbol, else within double quotes this symbol. Now, how do you get these symbols inside? There are a couple of ways to get them. One option is you open the double quotes and you can press your Windows key and dot key, Windows and period. This in most modern computers will open up an emoji keyboard, and you can just find the emoji that you want. For example, I want to have an emoji of a smiling person. I can put that and then that will get there. Right now, all our calculations will change with the smiley symbol and a tick mark. So this is one method. In case your keyboard doesn't support this or your computer is not showing that emoji symbol, then what you could also do is you can go to a website like Emojipedia or whatever, search the emoji there and copy the Unicode value from there and paste it here. It's again very simple, so just try that either options. But most people, especially if you are already using Power BI, chances are you are using Windows 10 or one of the newer operating systems, and that has full support for emoji from a keyboard level. The fourth one is label density. Imagine you're looking at trends of various products over time. Now this is a very intense chart. There are so many lines going on. I'm not a huge fan of having multiple lines that are close to each other, but let's just imagine this is what we are dealing with, and we try to make it better by adding labels. Now there is too many labels here and it makes it hard to read exactly what is what. You can apply label density as a concept. The idea is you can tell Power BI what percentage of labels it should show. It is smart enough, so if you select a percentage that is too low, then it will only show labels for important points. So let's select the chart here. We go to the format tab, and from here data labels, you can specify label density. The default is 50%, but you can change it. Let's say if it is 100%, all the labels are shown and it gets more dense. But if I set it to 10%, then I only get few important labels, so that the key items are highlighted in terms of having a label. So that is label density. It is a very simple thing, but it can change the nature of chart and the information density in a big complex report that you may be publishing. The next one is smart labels. This one is similar to label density, but here we are taking more control over where to show labels. It will only work if you have one line. It will not work when you have multiple lines. So when you have a single line, like this is a total revenue trend, and I just want to show a label at the very last point, that is current revenue for the current week, as well as what was the revenue 13 weeks prior. So those are the only points that I care about. So what I've done is I've created a line chart, a single line chart, but there are actually two items for the line chart, total revenue and total revenue for labels. So the way we do it is we create another measure called total revenue for labels, and that measure would be same as total revenue for the very last point at 13 weeks prior and blank for every other value. Okay, so I'll show you how such a measure can be created. This is our total revenue measure, which is a simple sum of revenue, and we can create another measure called total revenue for labels, and this one goes a bit more. It says calculate the very last week, and then the first week would be I said 13 weeks, but it was just 4 weeks, so last week minus 28 will take me back 4 weeks to the start of that month, and then we find what is the current week that is being displayed with the selected value measure. Once these measures are in place, we can just use if formula. If current week is either first week or last week, then I want total revenue, else I want blank. So what we now have is a measure that would be same as total revenue for the very last value as well as 4 weeks prior, and for everything else in between or before, it will just be blank. Okay, so once such a measure is there, we can then I'll quickly just show you how these values are. If I turn it into a table, you could see that this is blank all the way through except for that value and that value. Right, so this is how that total revenue for labels works. And then when you turn it into a line, then what happens is it gets drawn as a line. There are actually two lines. One line is a dark blue color, but because it is blank, we can't see it, and there is a line from here to there. Okay, I've changed the line property, so there is no line, just a marker. To do that, once you have that, it may be easier if I show you from scratch. So we will add a line. We will take week into the axis, and then total revenue, this, and then we will just drill down to the very last level. So as you could see, the colors are different, but the total revenue is dark blue one. I'll move it up. So yeah, total revenue is the blue one, and the total revenue for labels is the dark blue one. So it does have a line there. Now all we have to do is add data labels, and if you remove that line from being visible, then you will just get the labels for that. So this is how we do that. We select that, we enable labels, and then we go here. Rather than seeing labels for everything, we will just say customize by the series. And then for total revenue, we don't want any labels. We want just the labels for revenue for labels series. So that's coming up. So that part is done. We now go to shapes and again customize by the series. And total revenue is fine, but total revenue for labels should have a stroke width of 0. That means there should not be any line. And with this approach, we will get the labels for that. This only works if you have one line. As I said, if you have multiple lines, then this method doesn't work or scale. But hopefully, in your versions of Power BI, they will add more control over how labels can be shown, what labels can be shown through another measure-based calculation like conditional formatting. So that is that. I know some of you might be having questions, but as I said, this is not meant to be an explanation of things or writing measures. It's more of demonstrating the visualization technique. We will pause for some questions at the end of it because it's all different topics. So, but I will take some questions towards the end. And then sticking with the theme of lines, this is that even a line? That's the next one. Here the idea is we don't have to use a simple line. You can use a stepped line. So this is called stepped line, where each change is shown as a step in the ladder. To get a stepped line, you just select the line and then you can go to format, shapes, and then just enable the stepped option, and that will give you a stepped line. And then this one is having two lines, one with revenue and one is a profit percentage. Because they're on different scales, you have dual y-axis. The dual y-axis support came in the last version of Power BI, probably in March or something. So if you are using an older version, then you need to upgrade to see that. But you can have two axes and show that. And then the third one is just multiple lines, and when you have so many lines, it's hard to focus on one of them. So maybe having different stroke widths so that you can emphasize on one series than others. You can take this even further by applying linking it with a slicer or whatever, so that when you click on slicer, it will highlight only that line and fade the other lines. So it rather than using built-in interactions, we will control the interaction through measure. And the last one is using forecast line, so that to predict what would be the revenue in future. To add forecast, you select the line and go to Analytics tab and insert a forecast for next 3 months with 80% confidence interval, and you will get that. If I go to focus mode, you can see this having the separate line there. So that's some more line techniques. Let's take a look at card visualizations. Cards are again very famous with business reports. So normally when you put a card, you will get like this. I thought we could add some shadow effect to the card. You can normally just select the card and apply a background to it and give it a color. and it'll come up like that. But there is no shadow option on these things yet. But I was looking at Twitter last night, and I saw that Microsoft has demonstrated ability to add shadows to visualizations as part of next version of Power BI that they were showcasing in the conferences that they're running now. But nevertheless, if you just want to get some sort of interesting effect of drop shadow or whatever, you can still get them. All you have to do is insert a shape of rectangle. So we will insert a shape that is the same size as the card. Okay, and select this rectangle. It doesn't need to have a line, so we'll just reduce the line stroke width to 0. But it will have a fill color that is of dark black color like that. So we will have a thing like this, and then we will just move down a couple of pixels, move side a couple of pixels. So just like this, and then while keeping this selected, if you go to format and send it to back, so now you will have something in the back. You can't still see it because these other cards have background there. But let's just say these one. So you could see that there is a little bit of thing popping from the bottom there. So that's how you can add a shadow effect. So that's how I have done this through that. But there is more to this. You can actually, instead of using built-in cards, you can just use the card to return the number, and you can use an image to show that in the background so that it will create a much more rich looking experience. I will show you in the selection pane. I have hidden another group. So this is a different card. This has two things. One is an image of that brick kind of a image, and then the second one is the card. And when you lay them out on one top of another, you will get a different experience like this. You can use PowerPoint or Windows, any imaging editor, to create these kind of things and save them, and then insert the image through the insert ribbon image option and get that. Let's take the imaging idea a little more. There are more things that you can do. For example, you can have a fancy little image like this with a couple of cards and visuals. You can have a hand-drawn outline like this and use that. You can even use sticky notes images, or a person holding a whiteboard and then put the chart on top. That will create a more compelling storytelling. Some of these you may want to think really hard when you make the choices. For example, this one here, while the information is being displayed here, there is a lot of space wasted for that person's head and legs and everything. So within Power BI, there is always a problem of having less real estate. You're always looking for places to put information because everything is just so big. So if you're using something like this, it may be a good place to use as a conversation starter and then get into details that are more dense. That's that. The ninth one is, again, a lot of you might already know. This is using multiple views with bookmark. So here I want to just see if I can make it big. Maybe I will expand my screen for now. It is still going to be same. So we have a trend chart, but I want to see this information in different ways. Now, one of the new features that Microsoft has introduced in May, the April 2020 version, is visual customization. So what they are saying is, if you publish this, your audience can select this chart and then customize it if you enable that feature, and then say, I don't want this as a line, I want to see the table or whatever. But there is still a problem, which is sometimes the audience are not familiar with exactly what is the other visualizations available and whether they should try it or not. So that's the number one problem. The second problem is even more important, which is they don't really know if you select this line and then let's just say you change this to a column chart, for example, you will get something like this. So this is what the visualization personalization thing does. But this is maybe not even the best way to represent this, or it doesn't uncover some of the other things that are present in the data. So what you could do is you can create multiple views and use bookmarks to trigger them, each view presenting different side of the story rather than different way of telling the story, different side of the story. So if I go to table, I'll get a completely different representation. It's not only showing me the revenue, but also expenditure and profit detail. If I go to the bar chart, I get detail by country and product. I'm not really looking at the revenue trend anymore. I'm looking at profit information. If I go to the line, I'm just seeing total revenue. If I go to pie chart, I'll get a pie chart of revenue distribution by country for the 3 of our biggest products, and then all other products here. So this kind of thing is very powerful. It engages users and it provides more complex information without overwhelming you. We could create all of these charts and place everything in that white space, but this will be more useful because your users can engage with the report and get what they want through the bookmark feature. Now, bookmarks are very tricky to explain, but what we will do is we still have a lot of time and we are already on the 9th tip, so I can show you how to create a bookmark that will switch between table and a chart. So let's say we create a table. In this table, we just want to see by name of the product what is the total revenue, total expenditure, not that one, total revenue, total expenditure, and maybe profit percent and an emoji that we have created. Sorry. Okay, so we have a table, and we would now like to have a bookmark that will let us switch between table and a column chart representation of something else. So we will add a column chart here, and then in this column chart we will just say total revenue by day. So 2 different representations, right? What we can do then is we will insert. You can use images to really make the bookmarks come alive, but you can also just use buttons. So I will just use a button of bookmark type, and then here in this thing, button text, and then this one will be table view. Okay, and then we'll copy paste that, and this one will be chart view. We now have 2 buttons. When you click on them, one of them will show up supposedly. So to set this up, so now that you have buttons and you have table and chart, everything, we will just go to view and enable the bookmarks panel and selection panel. So this is the next bit. We need to have these panels available to set these up, and then we will select the total revenue by name. This is the chart view, and we will hide it, so that's no longer visible. And then we will also select the table view button. We will hide that. Okay, so when you are on table view, you just want the chart view button and then table to be shown up. Once this is there, we will then look at this and then click on add bookmark at that state. It'll add a bookmark. It might call it bookmark 5 or 73 or whatever. We'll name this as table view for demo. Okay, we will then reverse the setting. So we have table view and then this one coming up, and it might be easier if I just move it there. And then here we will create another bookmark. This is a chart view for demo. Okay, so now we have 2 bookmarks. We can trigger them from here and they will work. The only problem is we have to have bookmarks panel to trigger them. So once all of this is done, we just select the table view button, and from the visualizations panel, we no longer need these, so we can close them. So from the visualizations panel, for the button there will be an action, and this action will be of the type bookmark, and the bookmark that it needs to point is table view for demo. And then we click on this. You need to use control click when you are using Power BI desktop, but when you publish, it becomes just a clickable thing. So we will get to chart view and then select that. We will set up the action for that as well. And that's it, that's all done. And now our bookmarks are set up, so we can play with them by simply control click, and you can switch between these things like that. So this is how I have achieved the multiple views thing. It requires a bit more bookmarks and hiding and displaying things and making sure everything is same size and whatnot, but that's how you get that. The last one is limited interactions. This is again also a very powerful way of controlling the narrative in the report. Let's say you have a one-page report like this, and in this top left section shows summary of summary statistics, like what's your total revenue, expenses, and whatnot. And if you click on any of these items, because everything in Power BI is interacting with each other, these numbers will change obviously. So if I click on that, I'm now looking at movie plus product category, and then information for that, expenses, and the top 10 stores for that by profit percentage and whatnot. But let's just say I don't want the interaction from here to go to the left. I want the interactions to always flow to the right. That way these numbers will never change. To control that, all you have to do is select the chart, go to format, and click on edit interactions. Okay, so now you can edit the interactions, and the interaction that we want is no interaction. So we just have to click on none for all of these cards, and that will limit the interaction. So that means if I click on this chart, nothing is going to happen here. We'll do the same for this one as well. We will not want any interaction happening on the pie chart either. We could even go one more step and then say this table also should not be filtering that. So now what we have achieved is, no matter what is selected here, these cards are not going to change. They will only change if you refresh the data or bring in new information or add a page level filter through the filter panel. So that's how that is done. We can take this one step extra and then say any interaction that is happening here, like if I pick a store, that should not change these things, but I'll leave it to you. And then once you're done, click on edit interaction so that it goes back. And now when you click on this, the numbers will not change. Same for this, the numbers will not change here. The interactions are only happening within the white section, not the gray section. It's important when you are doing this to kind of indicate that the interactions are not happening here by either having a background color or borders or maybe a label that tells that the interaction will not affect these particular parts of the chart. So that's the 10th tip. I hope you found all of these useful and interesting. This is more to be like an idea session where I showcase some interesting ideas, and I want you to take these and take them and apply them to your line of work rather than directly copying them, because most of you may not be creating these exact measures or visuals for your work anyway. But if you want to learn more, you can go to a couple of places. One is I got a very good article and a very detailed explanation on the entire Power BI spectrum, how it is, what to do when you are getting started and all that. So that's a good place to start. So that's that. And if you are looking for more information, I also run an online class called Power BI Playdate. So click on that to learn more about that. So as I said, I've shared this as an online page. If you go to the, I might just actually go here and copy. So if you go to that link, it will take you to an online version of this exact report, but everything is online, so you can't edit it, but you can see the whole thing. So you can access all the 12 pages and go through all the slides, and you can use the images there to link up. If you want a copy of this file to download and play with, I will provide that as a link. I will email it to Shlomi, and then he can place it in the video description both on YouTube and maybe email it to all the participants as well. So that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed. I will now take any questions.
Thanks, Chandoo. Quick question. Are there any way to export the data to Excel, not CSV? I know it's possible to CSV.
Yeah, you can use Power Query in Excel to export any kind of data into Excel. I hope that's the question, because are you asking are there any way to export the data to Excel? So obviously you want to get data into Excel, and then the Power BI to Excel. You can use analyze an Excel feature within Power BI to analyze the data into Excel, assuming that that feature is enabled and it is part of your Power BI setup. There is also another new feature that Microsoft has demonstrated just last night, which is if you publish the data set into Power BI Workspace, it's called Power BI Dataset. You can then analyze it in Excel if you log into the same account within both Power BI and Excel, because they are all part of the Office 365 account system or whatever. So if you are using your corporate ID, let's say, to log into both Excel and Power BI, and you publish, or your colleagues publish, a data set into Power BI Workspace, in future versions of Excel, you will see that as an option when you are building a pivot table or chart as a source of data, and you can just say, oh, I will use the marketing data set that is published. Because it's a Power BI data set, it is much more dynamic and richer. By that, what I mean is, if somebody refreshes the data set, it will automatically fetch new data into Excel and update your pivot tables and whatnot. And it will also give you access to all the measures that are built in Power BI, so you don't have to write any Power Pivot measures in Excel, and you can still analyze it. So it is quite a bit comprehensive. There are various ways to get data from Power BI into Excel.
Great question. I think Microsoft is tend to put it. I think I saw it in some conference that they will put something on Excel that can pull from Power BI or something like that, like Power Query from Power BI dataset or something like that. I saw it somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. Okay, thanks. You're welcome. Is there any other question to Chandoo? Okay, so no question for now. Okay, so I put all the links on the chat box. And I want to thank very, very much to Mr. Chandoo to wake up so early for us.
Thank you. Bought myself a big cup of coffee, so
yeah. אוקיי, so אני רוצה להגיד תודה רבה לכולם, תודה שהצטרפתם לוובינר הזה. בשבוע הבא אנחנו גם כן ביום חמישי, אנחנו עם עוד וובינר באותם שעות, ב8 בערב, ביום חמישי הבא. אנחנו נשים, תודה לכם, תודה תהילה, תודה יובל, תודה לכל החבר'ה, ואנחנו, כל הכישורים והכל, אנחנו נשים מתחת לסרטון ביוטיוב, כרגע זה משודר ביוטיוב, בערוץ של פאוור BI ישראל, ואני אשמח אם תצטרפו ותשתפו את הידע ותשתפו את הערוץ. אני מנסה להביא כמה שיותר גורים עולמיים, לשמחתי הם נענים לבקשות שלי, ויש עוד כמה בדרך שהם מאוד מאוד נחשבים בעולם. And I want to thank all to joining us in the webinar. Thanks, Chandoo. Have a great day.
Thank you, Shlomi, and all the best to everybody.
Yeah. Thank you very much, and hope we will be in the few weeks from now after this challenging period we are facing. I want to greet all of you. Good night and good evening and good day and good morning to you, Chandoo.
Thank you. Thanks. Good night, everyone. Hope if you're watching from Israel, otherwise, good day to you. And Thank you again. I'll send the file to you, Shlomi, in a short while.
Thanks a lot, Chandoo.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.